This is Flumbo. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Oh, this is Croopa. Wait, that also doesn't sound right. Banban wasn't always Banban, and I'm here to discuss with you the secrets of our beloved red friend. Banban and the cast each have their own detailed story and personality, and that's what makes Garten of Banban unique. Join me on the first episode of the Banban Chronicles, narrated by me, Ty Coker, the voice actor of Bittergiggle, a series where we dedicate each episode to discussing the history and secrets of a member of the Garten of Banban cast. If you decide to go and sift through the game files of any Banban game, you might notice something strange. You will find that, compared to most other characters, there are very few references to the name Banban. This is because the name Banban actually came very late into development. You will have much better luck looking for files that reference the name Flumbo. This is the first name that was given to our pancreas-loving red dude. And from there, what later became known as Garten of Banban was once Flumbo and Friends, with Flumbo himself actually being the third character to be designed and sketched of the original 6, not the first, despite later becoming the main character of the series. However, feeling Flumbo and Friends were too unremarkable of names, Flumbo was then renamed to Croopa. And from there, the Garten of Croopa was born, a name that you can still view at older archives of the Steam page. But at one point a little closer to release, we decided to change the name from Croopa to a much more catchy Banban, appropriately resulting in the final name of this new game being Garten of Banban as we know it today. A game called Garten of Banban without any Banbans to be seen. Because as you might know, Banban is actually absent from Garten of Banban 1. But what if I told you that that wasn't always the case? And that the final game where you only meet Opilabird and Jumbo Josh was the final version of the game script with 2 scrapped versions before it. With one involving just Stinger Flynn, if you might recall from our devlogs, and the other, and also very first script, involving only both Jumbo Josh again, and none other than Banban himself. This version of the script starts out very similarly to the Garten of Banban 1 that we know today. You enter Banban's kindergarten as a parent looking for their missing child, and are subject to a few puzzles that need to be solved in order to proceed. Only this time there would be no eggs to be collected for Opilabird, since she simply wasn't scheduled to make an appearance in this version of the script. In place of Opilabird, you'd be stalked throughout the kindergarten by Banban, without ever getting a clear view of him. Think Opilabird staring at you from behind the wall, only with Banban, and it happening much more frequently. So, if there was no Opilabird, does that mean that for the majority of the game you were supposed to just be solving puzzles while being stalked? Well, no, not really. With every version of the script came a new design for the map that would better fit the story. The kindergarten of the version of the script where you're being stalked by Banban was meant to be much smaller, with the second half of the game taking place inside the actual facility. This is why if you watch one of these videos that fly around the map of Garten of Banban 1, you may notice that there's a small room underneath where Jumbo Josh attacks you in the original game. He wasn't scripted to attack the elevator in this version of the script. Instead, you'd safely make it to the underground facility where you would continue to be stalked by Banban for a little more. For the most part, this was Banban's role in this version of the script. And as for Jumbo Josh, well, you'll have to wait for the Jumbo Josh Secrets video where Jumbo Josh's role in this version of the script is revealed. Stay tuned for that. Of course, as you may know, this was later changed to making the player first enter the underground facility in Garten of Banban 2. The Euphoric Brothers felt that the ending in the final script where you get attacked on the elevator made for a much better cliffhanger. But what do you think? Let us know your thoughts about this version of the script in the comments below. I'm going off script here for a second to say I will actually be looking at the comments about that, so let me know what you think. I'm very curious. Speaking of the Euphoric Brothers, did you know that Banban is voiced by Geppo, the purple of the Euphoric Brothers? And like most of the other Garten of Banban characters that speak during the games, Banban has some unused voice lines. 2 to be exact. The first was meant to be said in Garten of Banban 2, where a mysterious voice over the intercom asks you to wave at a camera so that they know you can hear them. This mysterious voice, whom you later learn is actually Banban, was originally meant to say a line if you take too long to wave at a camera. Take a listen.
Please, I need to know if you can hear me.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Geppo, oh buddy, oh pal, oh purple guy. This line would be said automatically by Banban without the player prompting the conversation to start by doing a certain task. Because of this, there were too many things to account for, such as whether the player was in the correct room, among other things. Overall, it was causing too many issues, so it was just removed altogether. Unlike Banban's second unused voice line, which was not added simply because the developers forgot to. Whoops! In Garten of Banban 6, while accompanying Banban in the garden statue's puzzle room, you will at one point open the door to the red cabin there. This causes a miniature naughty one to suddenly jump out of the red cabin and run away, which shocks Banban. Normally, he says the following.
Watch out! What is that doing in here?
And that's where the dialogue ends in Garten of Banban 6. But originally, he was meant to follow up on that sentence by this unused voice line.
What even are these things?
This follow-up line was never implemented, as mentioned before, because of an oversight. Truly unfortunate. Banban's unused voice line in Garten of Banban 6, you will forever be remembered. Okay, so we've disclosed Banban's role in early versions of the script and Banban's unused voice lines, so now let's talk Banban's model and art assets. While the Euphoric Brothers don't have any records that document exactly when Banban's model was first created, Banban's first ever render was created on October 4th, 2022, and it looked like this. This is the first time that the render is being revealed in full to the public. The head of this render was used as a placeholder for the game's icon up until it was replaced with the Jumbo Josh one we all know and love, back when the game was still called Garten of Croopa. Additionally, this barely textured version of Banban's model actually makes a more important appearance than just being the subject of some secret render. In one of the older screenshots of Garten of Banban 2 before it came out, this version of the model can be seen in a scrapped location during a scrapped chase sequence that was meant to be in the game. This was scrapped very early on though. There was also a time where Banban was supposed to be given a guitar, but this was also scrapped. Instead, we opted to show off this guitar in the hand-drawn depiction of Banban in Garten of Banban 3's cafeteria. Who knows, maybe this guitar will have more importance in the future. Yeah. Speaking of scrapped concepts and going back to the earlier versions of the script of Garten of Banban 1, there is an art asset that was meant to have been written by Banban. At some point during this early version of the script, you were supposed to come across this ominous message that says, "Turn back," that was written in ketchup. Obviously ketchup. There was also this scissors icon that was meant to be for an item that was part of a scrapped puzzle that involved Banban in Garten of Banban 1. But wait, what's this note? Stay tuned for the next episode of the Banban Chronicles, where the secrets and history of another character will be revealed. Comment down below which character you want to learn more about next, and keep on Banbanning! Banbanning? Is that what people say? Right? That sounds right. I think that's a verb. Banbanning. Hey honey, I'm going banbanning. I'll be back shortly. Deep within the lower levels of Banban's kindergarten, there exists a very mysterious and intelligent monstrosity. A monstrosity so rich with knowledge about Givanium, it became obsessed with what could be done with the substance. And that monstrosity is the Surgeon, as it was codenamed when it was first created. Oh wait, it was given a name at one point. The name of the monstrosity is Fuchsia. Wait, no. The name of the monstrosity is Syringeon. To say that Syringeon changed a lot during development would be an understatement, and I'm here to discuss with you the secrets of our beloved Surgeon. The Garten of Banban cast each have their own detailed story and personality, and that's what makes Garten of Banban unique. Join me on the second episode of the Banban Chronicles, narrated by me, Ty Coker, the voice actor of Bittergiggle, a series where we dedicate each episode to discussing the histories and secrets of a member of the Garten of Banban cast. Garten of Banban 4 served as the introduction to one of the series' most vital characters yet, where if you completed a set of certain tasks, you would gain access to a secret meeting room with a drawing on the wall depicting a strange figure never seen before. And that figure was Syringeon, a four-armed, fuchsia-colored, surgeon-like figure whose name consisted of a portmanteau of the words syringe and surgeon. But what if I told you that Syringeon's final appearance is the last of many iterations that came before it, and that he looked very different from when he was first sketched? The first iteration of Syringeon was first sketched when the Euphoric Brothers were playing cards while drawing concepts in a nearby notebook. Liking what they doodled and thinking they could make something bigger of it, they got to work. The result was what you are currently seeing on screen. This is a recently recovered image of Syringeon's first iteration. It was at this point that this new character was codenamed the Surgeon. But something was wrong with it. It looked too cute. Sorry, Syringeon number 1. The Surgeon was then given 2 more arms to give it more surgical tools, and the location of the mouth was readjusted, thinking it would make it much more intimidating in its 3D version. One of these surgical tools was originally going to be a knife or a scalpel, which was then replaced with the mechanical grabbing hand, as it didn't make sense to not give him any way of grabbing objects. And also to make this new character stand out more, its color was changed from the light blue it originally had to the final fuchsia color it currently possesses. As a result of this new color, it was temporarily given the name Fuchsia, which the name Syringeon was later used as a substitute for. And with that, the Syringeon in his 2D form we know today was born, where he later finally debuted in his physical form in Garten of Banban 7, with voice actor Ray O'Hare playing his role, who, as a fun little bonus fact, also played the train conductor in the Euphoric Brothers' other game, Human Apocalypse. But going back to Syringeon's 2D form, you might notice something strange that was quickly pointed out by many fans when Syringeon's mural was first seen by the public. Take 5 seconds to try and see why Syringeon looked off compared to all other wall murals of the franchise. Do you see the problem yet? Huh? Do ya? Huh? That's right. Syringeon's eyes were brown, and he was the only one of all other characters that was like this. But rest assured, this has nothing to do with lore. It was a simple oversight, and it was fixed in later games. But early concepts and wrong eye colors aside, what if I told you that Syringeon's story was originally going to be much different from what it ended up being in Garten of Banban 7? In fact, the entire chapter originally played out completely different from how the final version of Garten of Banban 7 plays out. The story for the chapter, much like most chapters, went through many different scripts. And while most versions of the script have been lost or deleted, one remains intact. In this early version of the script, the overarching goal of the game remains the same: In alliance with Syringeon, you entered Cityngeon in search of Jumbo Josh. But Cityngeon was very different. The mayor of the city was much more tyrannical, where he ruled over his citizens with an iron fist. He was much more reminiscent of a cult leader than a mayor, but he was still willing to work with the player to achieve his goals despite his hatred for humankind. Instead of the fully lit city you enter in Garten of Banban 7, you instead find yourself limited to a single block, with long walls enclosing what remains of the city. These walls would constantly be banged on by hungry, naughty ones trapped on the outside, unable to enter because of the light. From the balcony in Syringeon's office, you would be able to see a faint light in the distance, which Syringeon explains belongs to a tower that Jumbo Josh is nearby. The secondary goal of Garten of Banban 7 would have been to try and reach that second tower. But there was a problem. Aside from the tiny part of the city you're trapped in, everywhere was dark, which also meant everywhere else was infested with naughty ones. Through puzzle solving and fighting the notified army one by one, you would slowly but surely restore power to different parts of the city, allowing you to finally reach the tower. It is during these expeditions to try and restore power that the majority of the action took place. The Givanium baby would have been encountered in one of the buildings. The notified Bittergiggle would have been his own minigame instead of the chase sequence he ended up getting in Garten of Banban 7. Kittysaurus was supposed to have been trapped in a pit that the citizens would have been standing around ceremoniously, where you would help her escape as part of a puzzle. A sequence where you enter a courthouse and Sheriff Toadster judges you for your crimes, before the lights go out and the entire building is swarmed with naughty ones. But most interestingly, a crazed Sheriff Toadster was scripted to trap you inside of a grocery store, inside of which you would have had to get a phone to work, where you call Syringeon for help, after which he sends a loud contraption to scare the crazed sheriff away. Not notified, but crazed. This contraption would dramatically slide towards you through the darkness, which turns out to be a loud, mobile power generator. After escaping the grocery store, you would use this generator to play a mini-game where you push the generator into dark blocks of the city. Once activated, it would light up the area temporarily, giving you some time to enter and scavenge the nearby buildings for supplies that would allow you to fix power boxes that would light up the area permanently. But you gotta do it quickly because the generator only stays on for a few minutes, and if it deactivates, the block goes dark again and it would require you to reactivate it again manually. So if it goes dark while you're scavenging in a building, too bad. What you are seeing on the screen right now is an unused location that was meant to be one of those blocks that you restore the power to. There were 3 blocks that this needed to be done for, and when all 3 were successfully done, that's when you finally reach the tower you could see from Syringeon's balcony. But once you make it to the tower, you discover that Jumbo Josh is suspiciously nowhere to be seen. Upon returning to Syringeon, his true plans are revealed when you return to find him in a scrapped location that was meant to be the city's public park. You find him standing on a platform raised high above ground. This is where the conversation between Syringeon and Sir Dadadoo would have originally taken place. And after tricking and trapping Sir Dadadoo with the scepter piece, he gives a villainous speech explaining how he used you to do the hard part and get enough power delivered to the city to get the machine that's trapping Jumbo Josh to work. Before the center of the platform opens and an elevator holding a chained Jumbo Josh is raised from the ground. And this is where the chapter concludes as it was originally meant to end. As with the last Banban Chronicles episode, please do let us know your thoughts about this original version of the script. This sequence of events turned out to be much cooler on paper than it was a playable experience, and that's why this version of the script was scrapped for the most part. But wait, what's that in the distance? Stay tuned for the next episode of the Banban Chronicles, where the secrets and history of another character will be revealed. Comment down below which character you want to learn more about next, and say it with me, keep on Banbanning! This is Oscar Star. Hold on, this is a jellyfish we're talking about. How is he a star? Nah, this is Stingeruno. Wait, that's not the official name? Stinger Flynn, as with the majority of the Garten of Banban characters, has a rich history of how he came to be, and I'm here to discuss with you the secrets of our beloved psychic jellyfish. The Garten of Banban cast each have their own detailed story and personality, and that's what makes Garten of Banban unique. Join me on the 3rd episode of the Banban Chronicles, narrated by me, Ty Coker, the voice actor of Bittergiggle, a series where we dedicate each episode to discussing the history and secrets of a member of the Garten of Banban cast. Stinger Flynn, despite being arguably one of the simpler characters to draw and visualize, has probably gone through the most changes during development out of any of the other characters, making this episode of the Banban Chronicles one of the juicier entries. Every stage of development for this character has been strange, from the decision to even add him to the game to the decision to make him a jellyfish. This photo was taken on October 15th, 2022. Notice anything missing from it? Or should I say, anyone missing from it? That's right, Stinger Flynn was the last mascot to be added to the game of the original 6. He was a last-minute addition that was added right before the Euphoric Brothers started to seriously work on the script of the first game. The mural involving Jumbo Josh, Bambolina, Banban, Opilabird, and Captain Fiddles really felt like it could use another character whose color would complement the existing colors. And just like that, the Euphoric Brothers were back to the drawing board. The majority of concepts that were proposed for this new character have been lost to time, but 2 have survived. The first was Humblebee, a simple bee character whose purpose was to teach children the importance of staying humble, and also whose name is a play on the word bumblebee. Feeling Humblebee wasn't unique enough, it was quickly taken off the table. Sorry, Humblebee. Second, however, was a concept that came very close to becoming what Stinger Flynn is today. Enter Oscar Star, an orange, 6-armed, 1-eyed tower of teeth that would tower over the player. The reason Oscar Star was scrapped was the exact opposite of why Humblebee was scrapped. Oscar Star had too many defining features. He had 6 arms, 1 eye, and was a tower of teeth. He was absolutely goated with the sauce, so instead of completely scrapping Oscar Star, his features were shared between 3 different characters. Stinger Flynn got the 1 eye, an earlier concept of Nab Nab became the Tower of Teeth, and much later on, an earlier concept of Syringeon got the multiple arms. Remember him? Remember that guy? From the last episode? You keeping notes? Yes, these 3 characters, despite their minimal interactions with each other in the games, are spiritually connected through Oscar Star. Ultimately, the decision was made to add the 1-eyed orange jellyfish to Garten of Banban 1 and save the spider for later. And thus, Stingeruno was born, as he was nicknamed after first being added to the game, a name that one can still find in the game files. This last-minute addition jellyfish would later become the main antagonist of an unused script for the first game, where his giant tentacles and 1 eye would stalk you throughout the kindergarten. For the most part, the game would have played out similarly to the Garten of Banban 1 available today, but some of the puzzles would have involved finding different ways to have Stinger Flynn move his tentacles away from doorways that he would be blocking. Think Cyan Fiddles from Garten of Banban 2, only it's the giant Stinger Flynn before he was shrunk. This was all before being replaced by the final Garten of Banban 1 script we know today, where Opilabird and Jumbo Josh take the spotlight, and Stinger Flynn retains a minimal role of being a wall mural and giving words of kindness. If you compare the Stinger Flynn that you can see now on the Garten of Banban 3 poster to the one that you actually see in the games, you might notice a few differences. The eye on the model of the poster is less circular and more rectangular in shape, And Stinger Flynn actually has mistakenly 8 arms here. A mistake that the Euphoric Brothers made sure not to repeat when creating the model for Stinger Flynn in Garten of Banban Punch Rush. This version of Stinger Flynn that you see on the poster is actually a very early version of the same model created during the development of Garten of Banban 2, and later updated during the development of Garten of Banban 3. The eye was made rounder and the number of arms were reduced to 6 to accommodate the 6-legged wall mural. 2 decisions that actually turned out to be very helpful during development. Because, given the anatomy of Stinger Flynn, the Euphoric Brothers find that he is easily the hardest character to animate. Any movement of Stinger Flynn requires keeping track of all 6 of his tentacles and making sure each and every one moves in a natural way. This naturally makes Stinger Flynn more complicated to animate than any of the other characters, and having 8 tentacles instead of 6 would have only added more complexity to any movement involving the character. In addition to this, Stinger Flynn's eye being rounder meant we could program it so that it rotates around itself, allowing the Euphoric Brothers to make it follow the player. Speaking of Stinger Flynn's features, did you know that Stinger Flynn is voiced by Ferris, the blue of the Euphoric Brothers? Similar to how Banban is voiced by Geppo, the purple of the Euphoric Brothers. Okay, maybe you knew that one, but did you also know that as of Garten of Banban 7, besides the player and the drone, Stinger Flynn is the only other playable character? You actually get to play as Stinger Flynn in 2 of the dream sequences in Garten of Banban 3, during which you are also introduced to a new mechanic not seen anywhere else in the game. Whereas Stinger Flynn, you are capable of shooting electricity through your tentacles in order to traverse puzzles. Please do let the Euphoric Brothers know in the comments if you would like to see this mechanic reappear in future games. Stinger Flynn's ability to shoot electricity out of his tentacles is not mentioned too many times throughout any of the games. But did you know that this wasn't always the case? Within the kingdom in Garten of Banban 4, there exists the infirmary. And inside the infirmary are all of the prisoners that Sheriff Toadster manages to capture throughout the game. For each holding cell, the player is able to play a recording that has been put together by Sheriff Toadster to document his findings in respect to each prisoner, a collection of recordings that he calls the Toadster Archives. There's a recording for Opelabird and Tardabird, a recording for Banbalina, a recording for Slow Celine, a recording for Jumbo Josh, but not one for Stinger Flynn, despite also having his own cell. Initially, however, Stinger Flynn was also meant to have a recording of his own in the Toadster Archives collection, which would have detailed how Sheriff Toadster got electricity shot at him a few times while trying to capture Stinger Flynn after the events of Garten of Banban 3. However, feeling that there were enough Toadster Archives entries in the game and that the Stinger Flynn recording wouldn't have added much in the way of interesting lore, the idea for the recording was scrapped. But this wasn't the only instance where something related to Stinger Flynn was removed from a game. During 2 of the dream sequences that take place in Garten of Banban 3, one of the very few vehicles to ever make an appearance in any Garten of Banban game can be seen. Stinger Flynn's very own, the Stinger-mobile. This is the car that's parked beside Stinger Flynn during his monologue about reaching the beach, and the same one that all of the characters take a ride in later on in the game before it crashes into a piece of cactus. This car was originally scripted to appear in the first street of Cityngeon that you enter in Garten of Banban 7 as a reference to the fan-favorite car sequence of Garten of Banban 3. Realizing that this would not make much sense lore-wise, the car was removed from the map entirely, which actually happened only a few days before the public release of the game. But who knows, maybe the Stinger-mobile will reappear in future games. Wait, what's that jellyfish doing to us? Stay tuned for the next episode of the Banban Chronicles, where the secrets and history of another character will be revealed. Comment down below which character you want to learn more about next, and keep on Banbanning! Should you be unfortunate enough to find yourself within the lower levels of Banban's kindergarten, you might find yourself facing a very strange sight. An underground kingdom lit by the colorful hues of the giant mushrooms that populate the area. Ruling over this kingdom is a giant kangaroo queen, protected and served by a few incredibly loyal residents. And among these residents is one that has gone through so many changes during development, and also perhaps one of Garten of Banban's most iconic characters. The name of that resident is Blitzercup. Or at least that's what the game files may lead you to believe. No. The name of this resident is Bitter Titter. Or at least that's what he was originally going to be called before his name was changed for one last time to... Drumroll, please! Bittergiggle! The Garten of Banban cast each have their own detailed story and personality, and that's what makes Garten of Banban unique. Join me on the 4th episode of the Banban Chronicles, narrated by me, Ty Coker, the voice actor of the character that the episode revolves around, Bittergiggle. A series where we dedicate each episode to discussing the history and secrets of a member of the Garten of Banban cast. The ending of Garten of Banban 3 warns the player of a mysterious threat referred to as the Jester. And while not seen physically in the game, a collectible journal named the Smudged Poster depicts a strange figure never seen before in any of the games. Which, at the time, many correctly theorized is this Jester that we are cautiously told not to let find us. This was the introduction to what would later become a major character in the franchise. This figure is tall and humanoid, but most strikingly, he was vertically split into two colors, purple and green. Which begs the question, is this always how Bittergiggle was intended to look like? The answer is no! And there's a big story behind the process that led to the creation of Bittergiggle. During the development of Garten of Banban 3, the Euphoric Brothers felt that it would be a cool idea to add a character with two heads, with each head having a personality of its own. Quickly, they went to the drawing board, where many concepts would be created and discarded until the best one remained. This was done using the process of elimination. In the end, there remained 3 final potential concepts, which were a 4-legged creature with a cat head and a dog head, a 4-legged creature with a turtle head and a chameleon head, sound familiar, and a creature that didn't have 2 heads per se, but his body split into 2 different contrasting sides. The 4-legged creature with a cat head and a dog head was the next to be eliminated, permanently banished to the dark realm of scrapped Banban concepts. Wait, is that where Zolphius lives? This left one hard final decision to be made. Who gets the Banban hammer next?
Hey, forget Banban.
The turtle and the chameleon, or the 2-sided freak that looks very much like a jester? If you've played the Garten of Banban games, you probably already know what the conclusion was. The final decision was to add both. One as a boss fight in Garten of Banban 3, and one as a major aspect to the kingdom that the player would visit in Garten of Banban 4, where they would officially be a jester. And just like that, the first 2 members of the Mutants family were created, forever bonded by the fact that originally only one of them was supposed to make the cut. We don't talk about Zolphius. But even though the 2-sided jester as a concept was established, it still needed a remarkable color scheme, and it wasn't originally the green and purple we know Bittergiggle for today. Bittergiggle was originally going to be yellow on the smoother half that's now green, and light blue on the scruffy half that's now purple. A color scheme that was recycled and applied to one of the experimental jesters in Garten of Banban 4, Speaking of the experimental jesters, they weren't originally called experimental jester. They were originally called the hybrids, as can be seen on the file names of their voice lines. But this is far from the only Bittergiggle-related content found in the game files that wasn't shared publicly. Did you know that as of Garten of Banban 0, Bittergiggle by far and large has the highest amount of unused voice lines, spanning from his debut in Garten of Banban 4 all the way to Garten of Banban 0? This is, in part, thanks to the great amount of unused laughs that never made it into the games. Take a listen to a few of them. I remember back recording for Garten of Banban 4, I was workshopping the laugh, not 100% sure what the brothers wanted, so I gave them a huge variety of tones to pick from. Surprisingly, they ended up going with the higher-pitched laughs that are closer to how I laugh naturally, so that's fun. In terms of actual voice lines where words are spoken, Bittergiggle doesn't fall short either. In Garten of Banban 6, Bittergiggle has 2 unused voice lines. Take a listen.
Let's go! This is our only chance!
Let's do this! I'll fix the levers down here, you cover me from up there!
In Garten of Banban 7, during the rooftop chase sequence with the nodified Bittergiggle, he was originally meant to intermittently scream random jokes that make absolutely no sense. Take a listen.
What did the sheep say? A car! What do you call a leaf that sneezes?
This had to be scrapped because it would have been difficult to listen to Bittergiggle as you were running away from him, so instead it was replaced entirely with crazed laughs. 2 of these crazed laughs also ended up being unused. Take a listen. And these are far from the only unused content related to Bittergiggle. As with most other characters, Bittergiggle too remains part of many unused scripts and sequences, once again spanning from Garten of Banban 4 all the way to Garten of Banban 0. During the climax of Garten of Banban 4, the player witnesses Bittergiggle achieve his goal of making Queen Bouncelia laugh, but not before his massive pet Kittysaurus and a mutated little beak engage in an intense fight. This all takes place within the Queen's throne room. But what if I told you that this entire sequence was originally going to be very different from what it ended up being? Normally, the player gets trapped by Bittergiggle, escapes, and returns to the kingdom to find Sheriff Toadster has been knocked out and that Bittergiggle and Kittysaurus have infiltrated the throne room. And chaos ensues from there. In the original version of the script, the player would return to the kingdom after escaping Bittergiggle's entrapment to find the entire kingdom in shambles. Glancing upwards, the player would see Sheriff Toadster and Little Beak hiding on an elevated platform, warning the player that Bittergiggle and his army have made their way into the kingdom. This army that they mentioned would have consisted of both Kittysaurus and Kamataki and Tamataki, instead of just Kittysaurus as it is in the final version. Bittergiggle, Kittysaurus, and Kamataki and Tamataki would then notice the player, the Sheriff, and Little Beak, and Kamataki and Tamataki would shoot their projectiles at Little Beak, causing the poor bird to, once again, fall into the Givanium barrel. It would then emerge as the mutated Little Beak, and would engage in a similar fight with both Kamataki and Tamataki and Kittysaurus. The Queen would then exit her throne room to check out the loud noise, only for Bittergiggle to climb on a higher platform, jump on her back, and scream his joke into her ear, causing her to laugh. You would then escape with Sheriff Toadster, leaving the chaos behind. This version of the script had to be altered because it felt too messy. Let us know in the comments below which version of the ending of Garten of Banban 4 you think was cooler. At a certain point in Garten of Banban 6, you are tasked with protecting Bittergiggle from the naughty ones from a high platform, as he tries to fix the office door from a lower and darker part of the area. But what if I told you that this minigame was originally going to be completely different? The main thread of this sequence was originally not the naughty ones at all. Instead, it was a never-before-seen version of Sheriff Toadster, the nodified Sheriff Toadster. From the safety of the upper, more lit area, you would control a light that would keep Bittergiggle safe as long as he stays within it as he navigated below. Except the notified sheriff would eagerly wait for Bittergiggle to stray too far from the light and snatch him, and then snatch you. Before the mechanics of this minigame could be developed further, the Euphoric Brothers agreed that keeping the sheriff's fate unknown following the kidnapping of Banbalina would make for a better narrative point. It would also take away much of the Naughty One's screen time, which needed to be established as a serious threat in the dark. And thus, the sequence was altered to what it is today, protecting Bittergiggle from hordes of giant leeches that despised the light. But what about scrapped sequences that are actually referenced in the game by Bittergiggle but are never shown? Well, we have the first example of that in Garten of Banban 0, where while tied to his bed, Bittergiggle mentions strong earthquakes that broke something in the room.
They left me here tied to the bed, and with all these earthquakes, something broke. The tranquilizing gas is leaking.
This line was in reference to a series of events that were scrapped from Garten of Banban 0, while every now and then a strong earthquake would shake everything and everyone, with characters commenting on it after it happens. These earthquakes were supposed to serve as foreshadowing for Ramamba, which would have been the source behind these earthquakes. However, since Ramamba was already contained in a cell, it would have been a little hard to believe that they can cause earthquakes that strong from that cell, so ultimately the earthquakes were scrapped altogether, leaving behind this little reference as an homage to what could have been. I'm actually recording this episode before Garten of Banban 0 drops, so this is actually the first that I've learned that the earthquakes had to be cut. So that's exciting. But wait, bear with me while I feed this hungry snake. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Banban Chronicles, where the secrets and history of another character will be revealed. Comment down below which character you want to learn more about next, and keep on Banbanning! The iconic family mural of Banban's kindergarten is the spirit of the facility. At first glance, it might seem that the family mural showcases 6 different characters. But what if I told you that there are actually 7? A blue creature that looks eerily similar to the red one that it's hidden under. And why this blue creature was never meant to be found and how he was eventually found is exactly what's answered in Garten of Banban 0 and Garten of Banban Anti-Devil. This blue creature is Original Banban, as he is currently named in the game files. But you might know him better by his public name, Flumbo. That's right! This one is actually Flumbo. And longtime viewers of the Banban Chronicles might recognize his public name from episode 1. But this time around, this is actually Flumbo. The Garten of Banban cast each have their own detailed story and personality, and that's what makes Garten of Banban unique. Join me on the 5th episode of the Banban Chronicles, narrated by me, Ty Coker, the voice actor of the Bittergiggle Assistant, a series where we dedicate each episode to discussing the history and secrets of a member of the Garten of Banban cast. The main storyline of Garten of Banban Anti-Devil revolved around the intense rivalry between Banban and Flumbo. 2 characters that, while physically very similar, differ significantly on every other scale. But what if I told you that the physical differences between Banban and Flumbo were originally much more significant than what they ended up being? You see, when the Euphoric Brothers were first planning for Flumbo's physical debut in Garten of Banban Anti-Devil, they wanted a character that would serve as the complete opposite of Banban. but yet would be similar enough physically so that people can tell he's a variant of Banban. So to start, it was agreed upon that the character should be a shade of blue, which is what's commonly thought of as the opposite color of red. Then, seeing how similar Banban looked to an anthropomorphic cat, it was decided that the character should be a dog, given that dogs are often thought of as the enemies of cats. And just like that, the first design of Flumbo was created, a blue dog version of the red Banban we know and love. What's on screen right now is seriously what Flumbo was going to look like as saved in the project files, not some interpretation created later based on some loose description. He had the same physique as Banban, as well as his iconic smile and tongue.
Did anyone else ever feel like Banban should be talking like this the whole time? Will that get annoying?
His shade of blue was later made to be lighter so his facial features are clearer, and was then given a singular party hat to match the party hats of the red Banban. Although his party hat had a color scheme of white, blue, green, and yellow, whereas the original Banban's hats are light blue, white, gold, and dark pink. However, after the design was finished, it really felt like it shifted too far from Banban's original design, which was not the goal. And so the character was restored back to being a cat, banishing Dogban into the dark realm of unused character designs. And for a while, Flumbo was literally just a blue version of Banban that even wore two hats, just like red Banban. Sometime later, his hats were taken away, and a variety of different accessories were tested on him to see what looked cool and interesting. Things like different eyes, eyebrows, mouth designs, colors, and more were all given to Flumbo at one point. If Flumbo is the main character of the cast, he needed to be the character that all the other cast members looked up to. And you know who others look up to?
Superheroes! And that's exactly what Flumbo was originally going to look like. A superhero!
He had 2 yellow gloves, 2 yellow boots, a wider smile than the red Banban, a yellow beard, and yellow eyebrows. But he once again started to look a little too different from Banban. So his boots were taken away, and then eventually his gloves too, leaving Flumbo the way we know him today. Naked. What do you think of these previous designs? Let us know in the comments below which one is your favorite. Dogban, Super Flumbo, Regular Flumbo, or one of the designs in between. If there's a fan favorite design, maybe it'll make some kind of comeback in the series. Not you, Dogban, you stay down there with Oscar. But what if I told you that's not everything related to Flumbo that was eventually scrapped or ended up unused? Much like all of the other characters, Flumbo too has unused voice lines. And there is one in particular that has a very interesting backstory. And this particular line is Flumbo's laugh. Take a listen. This laugh was intended to play after Flumbo grabs you and jumps off Syringeon's balcony with you, because at this particular scene, Flumbo still thinks you're playing hide and seek. As far as he knew, this was all a game. This laugh was taken out so far into development of Garten of Banban Anti-Devil that there's versions of it in every language that dubbing is available in. So English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, Korean, Japanese, and German. Take a listen. Flumbo has so many scrapped and unused properties to the point where the character's name itself was also once unused. If you had watched the first episode of the Banban Chronicles, which revolved around Banban himself, then you already know that Banban's name was originally planned to be Flumbo. This is noticeable in the game files where many of Banban's assets have Flumbo in the name, not Banban. The entire game itself was originally going to be called Flumbo and Friends, not Garten of Banban. But of course, you know by now, things took a very different course. Banban became Banban, not Flumbo, and Garten of Banban became Garten of Banban instead of Flumbo and Friends. Though there's still a little Easter egg to it in Garten of Banban 7, where the same Flumbo would be later reused and given to a familiar character that would debut very briefly in the franchise's 7th entry, and later become the main character of the franchise's 8th entry. This character would also fittingly become a kind of an original version of Banban, much like how Flumbo was the original name of Banban. Which, as a bonus fact, is voiced by Daniel Walton, an absolute legend, who also voiced characters in some of the Euphoric Brothers' older games. And also, as another fun little fact, there's a 9 a.m. clock icon for the Flumbo clock that never appears in the game. In fact, every clock icon that has ever appeared in the franchise has a 9 a.m. variant that's never used. This is because the clock starts at 10 a.m. and stops at 3 p.m. But what if I told you that these aren't the only things related to Flumbo that were scrapped or unused? Flumbo's introduction in Garten of Banban Antidevil took perhaps the most amount of time to write and perfect, with many sequences originally planned to play out very differently from how they ended up being. In the many original scripts, as well as the final script, the plot is relatively the same up until the point where you open Flumbo's closet for the very first time. Although the prison sequence was a lot crazier originally, but that we'll discuss in future episodes of Banban Chronicles. In the final version of the script, you approach the closet as normal, only to find Banban already there right before he was going to open it to let Flumbo out. Banban then greets you and explains afterwards that he was sent there to bring someone that was in the closet. However, as soon as he opens the closet slightly, Flumbo would sprint out and run away from both you and Banban. He tells you to follow him into the Garten of Banban 0 area, where he tells you that the person he's looking for thinks he's still playing hide and seek, and that he must be somewhere in the area. You then play a short game with Banban where you try to find Flumbo in the Garten of Banban 0 area, which Flumbo eventually loses when you both catch him. You'd then all board the train together like the final script, but the events that happen inside were also changed. Instead of being shocked that Syringeon wants to hunt you down, Banban was originally meant to already know that, and that on the train he'd call Syringeon via a walkie-talkie telling him he's got Flumbo, but not the human. He'd tell you that Syringeon has everyone under control using shock collars placed around their necks, including the Givanium citizens. He'd tell you that the machine that allows him to shock the collars of anyone in the facility is right in his office, and that Banban himself has the chip that could completely hijack and stop the machine. And that he himself can't go back with it because he'll get searched, and if they find it, he'll be caught. So he gives it to the player and tells them to meet back with him in the tower using the back door. Sound familiar? The player would then be dropped off at the old clinic and then have to make their way through, similar to the final version of the script. Although the sequence of the old clinic itself too was also changed quite a bit, but that's for another video. The player would make their way into the tower, up the elevator, plant the chip where Banban wanted it, and then enter Syringeon's office to find Flumbo strapped to a bed. Once again, similar to the final version of the script. Flumbo is freed, Syringeon discovers that Flumbo is freed, then Flumbo grabs you and you both jump off the balcony together to find yourself awakening in the Givanium village. And although there are many other things that were changed from the original scripts and the final script, that will need to be discussed in later episodes. This is all we can share in this episode regarding Flumbo's involvement, as not to spoil too much of the future episodes. For example, the fact that a very familiar character was meant to appear in Garten of Banban Antidevil and play a major role, but never did, as to save his reappearance for a later game. Or the fact that the remote was not originally meant to shoot electricity and instead do something completely different, but just as cool. But wait, what's that cute little Banban plushie doing here? Stay tuned for the next episode of the Banban Chronicles, where the secrets and history of another character will be revealed. Comment down below which character you want to learn more about next. And keep on flumboing! That doesn't work as well. Keep on Banbanning!